Lee Van Cleef was born on January 9, 1925, in Somerville, New Jersey, and grew up in a modest environment that instilled in him a strong sense of discipline and work ethic. His father, a watchmaker, taught him the value of precision and attention to detail, lessons that would resonate throughout his life and career. Cleef's early years were marked by curiosity, determination, and a quiet intensity that later became hallmarks of his screen presence. During World War II, he served in the United States Navy as a radio operator, participating in combat and gaining experiences that would later inform his portrayals of hardened, battle-tested characters. These formative experiences shaped a resilience and depth that would define both his acting style and personal character. Transition to acting. After the war, Van Cleef pursued higher education at the University of South Carolina, initially studying engineering. Yet the call of the screen proved stronger, and he soon moved to Hollywood to pursue a career in acting. Like many newcomers, his early roles were small and often uncredited, typically portraying soldiers, cowboys, or other supporting characters. His angular features, piercing eyes, and commanding presence naturally lent themselves to playing antagonists, and he quickly became known for his ability to convey intensity and menace. Despite a slow start and occasional setbacks, including health challenges from a car accident, Van Cleef remained determined to establish himself as a versatile actor rather than a one-dimensional villain. Early film work. Van Cleef's initial foray into Hollywood included minor parts in classic films like High Noon, 1952, where he played a silent, menacing henchman. Over the 1950s and early 1960s, he built a reputation as a reliable character actor, appearing in a range of roles that showcased his ability to embody cold, calculating personalities. Though often cast as the villain, Van Cleef brought a complexity to these roles, hinting at a deeper moral code beneath the surface. His persistence and professionalism eventually caught the attention of director Sergio Leone, a collaboration that would transform his career and redefine his place in cinema history. Breakthrough in spaghetti westerns. Van Cleef's breakthrough came with his role as the ruthless gunslinger Angel Eyes in Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966. While Clint Eastwood played the iconic Man with No Name, it was Van Cleef's portrayal of Angel Eyes that left a lasting impression on audiences and critics alike. His performance combined chilling intensity with subtle nuance, creating a villain who was both terrifying and compelling. The sharp cheekbones, piercing eyes, and commanding presence that had defined his early career now became iconic, establishing him as one of the definitive faces of the spaghetti western genre. Establishing a legacy. Following The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Van Cleef continued to shine in the genre with roles in films like For a Few Dollars More, 1965, where he played the cunning outlaw Colin Douglas Mortimer, and The Big Gun Down, 1966, in which he portrayed a lawman turned bounty hunter. His characters were often quiet and deliberate, letting their actions speak louder than words, a hallmark of his signature style. Van Cleef brought a layer of gravitas and complexity to the villain archetype, making his characters memorable long after the films ended. Even when portraying morally ambiguous figures, his performances suggested a personal code and a sense of honor, setting him apart from conventional one-dimensional villains. Range and versatility. Though most closely associated with westerns, Van Cleef's talent extended into action films and television during the 1970s and 1980s. He appeared in films such as Escape from New York, 1981, playing the menacing Hawk, and The Octagon, 1980, alongside martial artist Chuck Norris, demonstrating his adaptability and ability to engage audiences beyond the Western genre. Van Cleef also became a familiar face on television, including roles in series like The Master, 1984, where he played a martial arts expert. These roles allowed him to reach new audiences and highlight his versatility, confirming his place as a skilled actor capable of inhabiting a wide range of characters. Personal life and family. Van Cleef's personal life was deeply intertwined with his career, shaped by relationships, family commitments, and moments of resilience. He married Patty Ruth Cale in 1943, with whom he had 3 children, David, Alan, and Deborah. Balancing the demands of a burgeoning Hollywood career with family life presented challenges, and their marriage ended in 1958. In 1960, he married Joan Marjorie Draw, a partnership that coincided with the transformative period of his career when he gained international recognition through Sergio Leone's films. The couple divorced in 1974, and in 1976, Van Cleef married Barbara Havalone, a relationship that endured until his death. Barbara provided stability and support during his later years, particularly as his health declined. Dedication as a father. Van Cleef's dedication to family was evident in small but telling ways. One notable incident involved losing the last joint of his right-hand middle finger while building a playhouse for his daughter Deborah. This injury, while minor in the grand scheme, became a symbol of his dual nature, a rugged, intense figure on screen who was gentle, attentive, and loving in his private life. The loss of the finger did not hinder his career, as he cleverly concealed it in performances, but it served as a reminder of his devotion to his children and the personal sacrifices he made. Professional rivalries. Van Cleef's career was also shaped by the dynamics of professional rivalry, most famously with John Wayne. Though both actors were legends of the Western genre, Van Cleef and Wayne held starkly different approaches to their craft. Van Cleef, a methodical and nuanced actor, favored complexity and moral ambiguity in his characters. Wayne, by contrast, was known for consistently portraying the stoic, heroic cowboy archetype. These differences in acting philosophy, combined with contrasting political perspectives, Wayne's staunch conservatism versus Van Cleef's more reserved, progressive leanings, fueled tension between the two men. The rivalry was less about personal animosity and more a reflection of Van Cleef's respect for artistry and his desire for depth in performance, highlighting his commitment to integrity in his craft. Ideological differences. The differences between Van Cleef and Wayne extended beyond acting styles into the thematic content of their films. Wayne's westerns often celebrated clear-cut heroes and traditional American ideals, while Van Cleef's spaghetti westerns embraced moral complexity, ambiguity, and realism. For Van Cleef, the contrast between his films and Wayne's work represented a broader conversation about the evolution of cinema and society. While they shared the same genre, Van Cleef saw his own work as exploring the darker, more nuanced aspects of human nature and history, which set him apart from the more sanitized portrayal of the West that Wayne popularized. Later, career and enduring influence. Even as the Western genre declined in popularity, Van Cleef continued to work steadily, expanding into action films and television. His distinctive presence, gravelly voice, and ability to convey tension and authority allowed him to remain relevant for decades. His performances in later films, though less prominent than his peak Western roles, still demonstrated his skill and professionalism. Van Cleef's ability to bring depth and authenticity to each character ensured that he remained a respected figure in Hollywood, admired by both colleagues and audiences alike. Legacy and impact. Lee Van Cleef passed away on December 16, 1989, at the age of 64 due to a heart attack, marking the end of an era in Western cinema. His legacy, however, continues through the extensive body of work he left behind. Van Cleef redefined the cinematic villain, transforming roles that might have been one-dimensional into complex, compelling characters. His work in films like The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly, For a Few Dollars More, and The Big Gun Down remains influential, celebrated for its intensity, subtlety, and moral complexity. His performances continue to inspire actors, filmmakers, and audiences who appreciate the artistry behind his craft. Final reflections. Lee Van Cleef's life and career reflect a story of perseverance, dedication, and reinvention. From his disciplined upbringing and wartime service to his evolution from minor roles to international stardom, Van Cleef exemplified resilience and commitment. He brought authenticity, depth, and gravitas to his work, creating a legacy that transcends the screen. His personal devotion to family, his resilience in the face of setbacks, and his nuanced approach to acting remind us that the measure of an artist extends beyond fame. Through his performances and the lasting influence of his films, Lee Van Cleef remains a defining figure in cinema, a man whose intensity and skill transformed the very idea of the Western villain into a timeless, unforgettable presence.